Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted sex trafficker and longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein, has reemerged in the spotlight. Just weeks after the U.S. House Oversight Subcommittee subpoenaed her for a deposition, Maxwell is now cooperating with the Department of Justice in what some claim could be a bombshell disclosure of the Epstein network. But while officials praise her newfound willingness to talk, I remain skeptical. Last Thursday and Friday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche conducted lengthy interviews with Maxwell at FCI Tallahassee, the low-security Florida prison where she is serving a 20-year sentence. Her attorney, David Marcus, said Maxwell spoke for 5 hours on day one alone and responded to questions about maybe 100 different people, offering what he called truthful, honest answers without invoking any legal privileges or declining to speak.
Listen, the president this morning said he had the power to do so. We hope he exercises that power in the right and just way.
Notably saying his client opened up about those around Epstein.
She was asked maybe about 100 different people. She answered questions about everybody.
ABC News reported that Maxwell was granted proffer immunity, a conditional form of legal protection that allows a witness to speak freely without immediate fear of self-incrimination. The Justice Department has not confirmed these details, and Maxwell's legal team insists no promises have been made. Still, the implication is clear. She is cooperating, and in return, she may be angling for a deal. The big question is this sudden transparency a bid for a presidential pardon? Marcus denies it. We haven't asked for anything, but also admits that everybody knows Mrs. Maxwell would welcome any relief. In other words, while no deal is on the table yet, everyone involved is clearly playing for leverage.
Let me move on to Ghislaine Maxwell. As you know, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Attorney General spent 2 days interviewing her. She, of course, has been convicted of grooming, recruiting, abusing young teenage girls along with Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Speaker, Maxwell's attorney said she answered all questions honestly and truthfully. But do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell can be trusted?
Well, I mean, look, it's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. And as you'll note, in our House Republican majority, we're working towards that. Chairman Comer and our Oversight Committee has already issued their own subpoena. They want to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I hope she's telling the truth. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking. And so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country. And we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. I certainly hope she's telling the truth.
Well, listen, this week, President Trump didn't rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. Of course, that's one of the big questions looming over all of this. So let me put this to you, Mr. Speaker. Would you support a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker?
Well, I mean, obviously, that's a decision of the president. He said he had not adequately considered that. I won't get in front of him. That's not my lane. My lane is to help direct and control the House of Representatives and to use every tool within our arsenal to get to the truth. I'm going to say this as clearly and plainly and repeatedly as I can over and over. We are for maximum disclosure. We want all transparency. I trust the American people. I and the House Republicans believe that they should have all this information to be able to determine what they will. But we have to protect the innocent. And that's the only safeguard here that we've got to be diligent about. And I'm insistent upon doing so.
Well, I guess my question is, are you open to a pardon or commutation? I mean, Mr. Speaker, the victims referred to Maxwell as Epstein's right-hand woman. Here's what one victim who testified under a pseudonym told the court at sentencing, quote, "The many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would not have occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role Ghislaine Maxwell played." Is that someone deserving of a pardon or commutation in any circumstance, Mr. Speaker?
if you're asking my opinion, I think 20 years was a pittance. I think she should have a life sentence at least. I mean, think of all these unspeakable crimes, and as you noted earlier, probably 1,000 victims. I mean, it's hard to put into words how evil this was, and that she orchestrated it and was a big part of it. At least under the criminal sanction, I think is an unforgivable thing. So, again, not my decision, but I have great pause about that, as any reasonable person would.
This flurry of activity is unfolding amidst a lot of backlash from Trump voters who are unhappy about what appears to be, so far, a lot of broken promises. President Donald Trump, who has publicly acknowledged he can pardon Maxwell but claims now is not the time, he is now pressuring Attorney General Pam Bondi to release sealed grand jury transcripts related to Epstein's earlier Florida investigation. Documents that could either vindicate or further implicate powerful players across the political spectrum. But on Wednesday, an Obama-appointed federal judge denied the DOJ's motion to unseal those transcripts, citing ongoing legal sensitivities. This decision has only fueled public suspicion and added to the piling list of inconsistencies in the way this case has been handled.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
In a rare show of bipartisan force, 3 Republican members joined Democrats in voting to subpoena the DOJ for all Epstein-related files. The motion passed 8-2, and now Chair James Comer must decide whether to finalize the subpoena. The committee also issued a subpoena for Maxwell herself, demanding a sworn deposition on August 11th at FCI Tallahassee. Whether she'll continue to cooperate and under what conditions remains uncertain. Whether this is all part of the control opposition theater or has some good and just outcome out of the whole ordeal remains to be seen.
Tonight, we are just hearing from the family of one of the most prominent accusers of Jeffrey Epstein, Virginia Giuffre's 2 brothers and their wives, all family together, telling me in an extensive and emotional interview in literally just the last hour that their sister was a person, not an object. They are urging the president not to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, who they call a monster. Giuffre died by suicide in April. A senior administration official tells NBC News no leniency is being given or discussed. The family of Giuffre says her voice is still with them. We're going to play that conversation now for you in full. So, Danny, you and the family have come out with this statement over the course of the last 24 hours here. Can you tell me a little bit what prompted you and the family to come out with this statement about everything that's happened in the last couple of days?
I think what prompted us to come out was that our sister's name was invoked. And I feel like anything to do with her, since her passing, I think that she has to be represented by her family. She's very clear with us how she wanted her legacy pulled forward, and I didn't want her name to be said and not be clear, if it makes sense.
On that note, when you said the president invoked your sister's name, he said specifically that word when he described her as being stolen, having been quote unquote stolen. What went through your mind when you heard that?
I think we were shocked by it, especially to use the term stolen, because she's not an object, she's a person. She's a mom, she's a sister. And she was recruited by Maxwell. She wasn't stolen, she was recruited at Mar-a-Lago his property, place where she was looking forward to having fun that summer. And it just kind of makes us wonder, I mean, how much he knew. You know, especially, and it's in our statement a couple of years later, you know, he made a statement on Epstein and, you know, how he liked young girls. And so, yeah, it does make us question, how much did he know?
Sky, you referenced the comment that President Trump made in 2002. You just referenced it there. Did Virginia ever talk about Donald Trump relative to her time at Mar-a-Lago?
No. No, that wasn't really a conversation that we had. She was always really good at protecting us from a lot of these things. So no, it wasn't a conversation that we had.
Okay. This is so clearly so emotional for you, Sky, of course, and for all of your family. And I wonder, how, with the Epstein case being so prevalent in these last few days, these last few weeks, how has that been for you personally?
I think I can answer that. We've constantly had to relive, since my sister's passing, these things from her past. She was pretty open with us about the things that transpired down the line with Epstein and Maxwell, and we know that she was proud of herself. It still impacted her, but she was proud of the work that she did to take them down. And, you know, reliving it over and over again for us as the family, you know, it does bring up those feelings of sadness for her, but it also brings up, you know, how proud, and I can speak for everybody here, how proud we were of her and everything that she did. And I think that we need to keep the emphasis on that.
You mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell. This is something else that was referenced in your statement as well. When it comes to the possibility of a pardon for her, what is your message to President Trump on that?
I can speak for that. I think the word that comes to mind is it would be an abomination. Our sister always told us that Maxwell was even worse than Epstein. You know, we said it in the statement that she was a monster. But this is a woman who used her womanhood to prey on young girls, vulnerable young girls. And she wasn't a light participant. She's convicted of these crimes. And the thought of offering her leniency or a complete pardon, it makes us feel sick, because we're letting someone out who could potentially repeat this. We know the track record, and it doesn't seem like there's any information that could be gained that's worth letting out a monster.
So then, Lynette and Danny, I'll address this to you. I will tell you that based on our reporting since your statement came out, a senior administration official tells our team, and I want to quote here, that no leniency is being given or discussed as it relates to Maxwell. Lynette, Danny, Sky, Amanda, and Danny and Lynette, I'll let you take this first. Does that give you any measure of comfort or relief to hear that?
Absolutely. It gives me great comfort, and it makes me think that, you know, I think that my sister would have been mortified if she were let out of prison. I feel that it is now our responsibility to make sure that we at least put her voice into our voice and scream that forward.
On July 14, Rosie Burke Rush, niece of former Princess Diana, was found dead at the family home in Norton, Wiltshire. A firearm was discovered nearby. Reports say she had been packing for a trip with friends, and her mother and sister found her body shortly thereafter. Wiltshire police ruled the death non-suspicious, stating there was no third-party involvement. A coroner's inquest has been opened and adjourned until October 25. Her family described her as a darling daughter, sister to Archie and Agatha, and granddaughter of Hugh and Pippa Rush. A private funeral is planned, followed by a later memorial service. Rosie was born June 21st, 2005, into the Spencer Roach family, descendants of Princess Diana's uncle, Edmund Roach, 5th Baron Fermoy, making her a first cousin once removed to Prince William and Prince Harry. She was an English literature student at Durham University, known for her creativity, love of poetry, and kind demeanor. University staff and fellow students describe her as well-liked and engaged in literary writing. This death closely mirrors another tragic coincidence. Thomas Kingston, husband of Lady Gabriella Kingston, cousin of the royal family as well, died in early 2024, also with a firearm nearby. But authorities ruled it non-criminal and accidental as well.
I believe they are withholding some of the documents at the request of the British Secret Service.
There's so many coincidences, so many odd things that just don't add up. Everything sort of smells.
Today's revelations may not add to the evidence, but certainly add to the intrigue. Her chilling prediction reads, "This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Someone, the name blacked out, is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injuries."
This is from Diana, in her own words, 10 months before she died.
Elle dit pas j'ai rêvé, elle dit pas je pense, elle dit on m'a prévenu. On veut me faire assassiner dans un accident de voiture. Ce qui est arrivé. Ou alors elle avait des dons de divination extraordinaires.
It was a complete game changer. Another missing piece of the jigsaw, Diana's fears that she'd be murdered. That fits in with what Al-Fayed had said. It also fits in with the large flash. That would explain that there was and then suddenly you're joining the dots.
The problem that the establishment will have with today's story is that they have not allowed a public inquiry into what happened to Diana in this country. And that has fueled already conspiracy theories for the last 6 years. And what today's letter will do is simply give credence to the view that there was more to it than meets the eye, and we should have some form of formal investigation.
85% of the ordinary people of this country believe Diana was murdered with my son. It's not only me. And nobody moving for 6 years, no one is moving. You think that's fair?
9:30 this morning, and in Westminster, Michael Burgess, coroner to the Queen's household, prepares to open the inquest formally into the death of Diana Frances Mountbatten-Windsor.
6 years on, British police officers will now try to determine what happened that night in a Parisian underpass.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, under the leadership of Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., announced a major initiative to begin reforming the organ transplant system, following an investigation by its Health Resources and Services Administration that revealed disturbing practices by a major organ procurement organization. Our findings show that hospitals allowed the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life, and this is horrifying, quote unquote. HRSA's independent investigation revealed clear negligence after the previous OPTM board of directors claimed to find no major concerns. In their internal review, 351 cases where organ donation was authorized, but ultimately not completed. It found 103 cases showing concerning features, including 73 patients with neurological signs incompatible with organ donation. That's 29.3%. At least 28 patients may not have been deceased at the time organ procurement was initiated, raising serious ethical and legal questions. Evidence pointed to poor neurologic assessments, lack of coordination with medical teams, questionable consent practices, and misclassification of causes of death, particularly in overdose cases. Vulnerabilities were highest in smaller and rural hospitals, indicating systemic gaps in oversight and accountability. In response to these findings, HRSA has mandated strict corrective actions for the OPO and system-level changes to safeguard potential organ donors nationally.
Everyone involved in organ donation and transplantation, from government organizations to clinicians to families, is trying to do the right thing. I believe that. But what we're looking at today is a system in chaos. Too many adverse events are being reported. Too many patients are being skipped on waiting lists, and too many donor cases raise deeply troubling questions. We're hearing about people showing signs of consciousness during donation prep, patients being approached for consent while coming off of sedation, families feeling rushed, doctors feeling pressured. That's not how trust is built or maintained. And one way we can maintain trust is by ensuring the integrity and security of the decades of patient data that power this system. It may surprise some to know that for years, HRSA has reportedly not had the power to fully review or access the computer systems that run the organ transplant network, including the code that makes matches and stores patient data. That means the government hasn't had a clear view into how the system works or where the risks are, which is especially concerning now as the system is being overhauled. It's a matter of trust, accountability, and patient safety, and that has to be non-negotiable.